I really feel like I need to do this video now because I've been putting it off for so long. Over 2 years ago, I had what I used to call an episode where I got really, really tired. I was slurring my words. Everything just kind of felt off. I felt off. I had a 6-month-old at the time, so I thought maybe that it was just I was tired from breastfeeding, being 6 months postpartum, like it was fine. Well, my husband came home and when he saw me slurring my words, he was like, I really think you need to go to the ER. So my sister came over. She took me to the ER while he took care of the kids. And they thought maybe it could be vertigo. So I followed up with primary care. She said maybe I needed to go see an ENT. So I went to the ENT. They did a test for vertigo and it was fine. Continued to kind of feel off every once in a while and it would last maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. I went to an ENT, I went to a neurologist, I went to a cardiologist. I eventually ended up pregnant again, so I was in OB. Talked to them about it while I was pregnant too. Nerve and muscle study done. Uh, I've had pretty much any kind of test imaginable. As time went on, these, what I used to call episodes, got worse. I started doing my own research because no doctors could figure out what was wrong with me. All my tests were completely normal. And for a while there, it just kind of made me feel like it was all in my head. I was just being dramatic about everything. I ended up finishing all my tests with the cardiologist. I had heart palpitations. Everything else was completely fine. And went to this other cardiologist. He thought maybe I had anxiety, so he put me on a medication for anxiety. And I got so much worse later on, even on the medication. And I called him and told him, and he said, okay, just stop the medicine. Obviously, that's not what's going on. And I was telling him on the phone, like, what all my triggers were and my symptoms. And he said, it sounds like you have a dysautonomia or POTS. He mentioned this other cardiologist that just joined their staff who has diagnosed POTS. She was very familiar with it compared to anybody else. Anybody else didn't know a thing about it. I made an appointment for her. It took months to get into her. And as those months continued, I got so much worse. Hello. The whole week before I ended up in the hospital, I was having to use a walker just to get to my bathroom at home. It was so bad. I took like 2 naps that day, and after my nap, I'd feel a little better and I'd try to get up, and then I'd be worse. So I'd have to lay back down, and it was kind of like that all day that day. Well, by that evening, I was in the recliner trying to take another nap, and I couldn't even push my body to sit up. My body was so weak and so heavy. I couldn't move my arms, couldn't move my legs. I could barely move my head, like my neck. I called my sister because I was at home by myself with the kids at that point, and my husband was almost home, but I couldn't do a thing. I could barely even talk to her on the phone. And she got there and she took care of the kids. I told her I think I need to go to the ER. Like I can't even move. And I avoided the ER for so long because they just could never figure out what was wrong with me, and I just felt like I was wasting my time and everyone else's time. My husband gets home. He has to pick me up and put me in the car, and it was pretty funny. He didn't realize, like, I couldn't even sit up on my own, so when he put me in the car, I just fell completely over into the console. And he was like, "Oh no." And he had to pick me up and like sit me up and buckle me in, and it wasn't funny then, but it's pretty fun. He took me to the ER. Like, you just have overall weakness. I was dizzy, my speech was slurred a bit, really tired. I did 2.5 hours of extensive MRIs of my brain and my spine. They really thought I had MS, which I already had a brain MRI for MS like a year and a half before that, and they said no MS. They did tons of blood work and labs, physical therapy, and to work with me, and I could barely make it from the hospital bed to the bathroom that was inside the room I was staying in. Every time I got up to use the bathroom, I needed help. They had me using the walker while I was in the hospital to get to the bathroom, and when I was up, I started sweating, my heart started racing, I started breathing really heavy. It was like I just ran an entire mile. Well, my husband and I decided we're pretty much going to cancel any plans we had, and we are just going to focus on me getting to doctors and getting tests and trying to figure out what is wrong and how to get me better. I finally got in with that doctor like a month later. She said, yeah, we can do the test in the office. And I was like, I thought you had to have a tilt table test, and my insurance would not cover a tilt table test. And she said, no, you don't have to have a tilt table test. And I said, so you have diagnosed POTS in the office before? And she said, yes, you can diagnose it in the office. We'll get you an appointment. This test shows that you do have POTS. I will take you on as a patient, and I will work with you, and I will help you. If it says that you do not have POTS, we will have to send you somewhere else to get more testing. And I had to wait like a couple weeks longer to even get tested for POTS. And they called me and they said, yes, you do have POTS. Here are your results. You have POTS because your heartbeat went up 30 plus beats per minute upon standing. And that is the diagnosis of POTS. I waited 2 years because a doctor didn't know how to diagnose POTS. And it was that stinking simple. That is frustrating. But the only other reason I was able to be tested for POTS was because I was tested for literally everything else. So that's the other big thing about being tested for POTS. You can't just go in and have the test and then say, oh yeah, your heart rate went up 30 beats per minute. You have POTS. You have to rule out basically everything else that could be causing those symptoms. Found out I had POTS. They sent me compression tight. They started telling me about electrolytes. They started telling me about all these things that I was already researching, finding out on my own time, but I wasn't sure if I had POTS or if it would help. So I was trying like a little bit of things, but not all the things. I started seeing another neurologist, a different neurologist. I started seeing cardiology regularly for my POTS. They wanted to try beta blockers. So I tried a few beta blockers. One of them caused super bad headaches, so I couldn't take that one. And the other one started to work for probably about a month, and then it quit working. So I am on my third medication, not with cardiology, but with the neurologist. Thankfully, this medicine takes care of at least 3 of my symptoms, where the beta blockers is just for my heart rate. Kind of an update on how I'm doing since POTS diagnosis, all the lifestyle changes and medication, lots of prayer. Just a few months after I was diagnosed with POTS, I was diagnosed with alpha-gal. Alpha-gal, I'm still learning a whole lot about, but I eventually want to do an informational video on that. I'm also going to do a POTS information video, like triggers, symptoms, things that help, what it is, all that, because I would have really appreciated stuff like that before I knew. And I know there's so many people out there that are dealing with illnesses that doctors cannot figure out, and it is the most frustrating thing in the whole world to know that your body is not working and nobody can figure it out. I just want to see if I can give people that information. I'm doing so much better than I was 6 months ago. I'm up to like being able to be on my feet probably about 10-ish minutes at a time without symptoms starting. And that's with all the lifestyle changes and everything, and the alpha-gal diagnosis and my diet change. I'm still going under some pretty extensive testing. I do have POTS, I do have alpha-gal, and those are the only 2 things that I'm 100% sure. At first they said I had pre-diabetes, but I think my A1C has gone back down, and I think it had more to do with my POTS, because when you have POTS, your sugars can spike and drop too. Hope it helps somebody out there.
Thanks for watching my story. If you or someone you know is going through chronic illness, this is a very hard time in their lives, or our lives, whoever you may be. It can sometimes make you feel alone and isolated from the world, especially if you think you're the only one going through this. You are not. There's so many other people, even if there's no one around you or in your circle of people that are going through this, there are so many other people going through things right now. So just try to keep that in mind, that it's not just you. I'd like to make more videos to encourage people and just say, hey, hang in there.